Welcome to DU Digimon.
Hello and welcome to DU Digimon and welcome to another video. If you're liking this sort of content, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and ding that notification bell so you're not missing out on any of the latest content, which I understand is cringe, but the algorithm is not great at the moment, so help a brother out. Anyways, it is tier list voting time once again. Obviously, we've had EX10 out for only about a week. Normally, we would want to try and let the meta mature like a good cheese. Or a fine wine. But we don't have time for that because we need to ramp up Jank Tank tournaments, and Jank Tank is next going to be filmed on the 15th of October, so we need to get this done pretty quick. But we're just doing this for the EX10 cards. This is not for BT23 because obviously those cards are not yet out. We will do another tier list come BT23, so it'll be interesting to see where some of these EX10 builds end up placing. The voting poll is open until Thursday. Next week, so Thursday the 2nd of October. I had to check with my wife off camera because I completely forgot, because time works in mysterious ways. Anyways, the voting poll is going to be open until around about sometime in the afternoon on Thursday the 2nd of October. So do vote away. We've already had 40 people take part so far. Have they all logged their votes? Most of them have. Well, kind of. Yeah, about half of them have. So make sure you're logged into the Tier Maker website when you make your vote. Otherwise, your vote does not count. Right, let's get into the votes and see where some of these decks are placing. So, also, this episode is not brought to you by Curry's PC World, but I have to use the adverts because unfortunately I'm not subscribed to Tier Maker. I probably should be at some point, but I am not. I'm sorry, Tier Maker. Anyways, let's have a little look at the decks. So first up here is 3 Great Angels. I am probably going to agree with the majority here and put it into tier 2. I feel like any of the decks in the Rogue and Jank tier, which would be like legal for Jank Tank, are going to struggle with 3 Great Angels. And I think 3 Great Angels still has a place in being one of the better yellow decks in the format. It's just not as good as Puppets, because Puppets is busted, or Sakuyamon. It's kind of fallen off in that regard. So I will place it into tier 2 still. I think it can still bang pretty hard. 7 Demon Lords I think is too slow, even with some of the new kind of 7 Great Demon Lords stuff that has come up in Sinister Order. So like the Beelzemon Ace and the Belphamon and the Lilymon, I think is still a 7 Great Demon Lord. It might not be because it's Bagra armor, I can't remember. I'm gonna say in general it's too slow for this format because just OTK decks are rampant. The decks with very efficient engines are rampant. So I'm gonna still put it in tier 2. I think it's still too good to be put into these lower tiers, despite the lack of results. But I think I'm gonna pop it into tier 2. Ogubond. Ogubond is one of those decks I really love and I always try and make work, but it struggles against anything that has protection, and it struggles against anything that can deal well with things that don't have protection. So yeah, do you know what? I might just agree with the majority here and go Rogue tier. I don't think it's bad enough to be in Jank tier, so I'm gonna go that. Alpha Chronicle, I really love the engine in this build. I've experimented with it before. I'd love to get my hands on the engine like physically. I've never just gotten around to doing that, or just kind of seeing if anywhere had them available. So don't have them IRL, but it's a really fun engine, which basically any X antibody top end can make use of. Stuff like Gallimon X and stuff like Gaiomon and all stuff I mentioned last time we did a tier list actually. But yeah, again, I think I'm going to agree with the majority and go for tier 2. Alpha Classic. So this one, technically you could still put in some of these newer Alpha cards, like the Chronicle stuff, like the CS Alphamon. I think because of that, I think I'm actually going to put it into tier 2. Most people have put it in Rogue tier, but I'm going to put it in tier 2. Ancient Garurumon can be a real menace, but I definitely think is kind of at the top end of tier 2. I think with the right pilot, it always does fantastic. But I think tier 2 will be where that goes. Angoramon, the green bunnies that are not bunnies. The bunny are bunnies, really, because Terriermon is a dog. But Angoramon is terrible. Yeah, we're putting in Jank 2. Argomon, I think when it gets going, with the ball rolling, it can be quite hard to deal with. But again, I think, Jank tier. I think it's going to where that goes. Barbomon X, Jank tier. That's crap. Beelstar Loop. I mean, there's some cool stuff you could do with it potentially. I don't know if it's really good enough now, though. I don't know if I would want to call it Jank Tier or Rogue Tier. Which are those two? Majority have gone Rogue Tier. I'm going to play Devil's Advocate and go Jank Tier. Screw it. Screw it. Blue-Green Imperial Dramon is still putting in the work. It's been making a bit of an appearance. Obviously, don't worry about this banned sign that's on here. It's just because it's banned from Jank Tank forever, because it was our 2024 Jank Tank Champion of Champions. I don't know if I'd want to call it Tier 1. Most people have. Yeah, I'll go on then. I'll put it Tier 1. Why not? Birds. Right. Now, this is an interesting one, because I have been paying attention to where things have been placing before this. So I have been keeping up with where the votes are. And most people seem to be putting birds singular above gear birds, so the Growlmon build. And I'm of the opposite opinion. I think birds has really taken a hit from the fact Garudamon X got banned. I would have easily put it in Tier 1.5 before, but without Garudamon X, personally, as someone who plays birds and really is struggling to make it work without Garudamon X, I would actually put it in Rogue Tier. And that's the first Rogue Tier vote, I understand that, but it's still where I'm going to put it. Next was Black Hybrid. Most people have put this in Jank, but then a few people have put it into Tier 2. It can do some really cool things. It's one of the only decks that can still give blocker to Mother Reaper outside of the old Shoto Mother Reaper combo, which you can no longer play. So I think it can be good, but I don't know how good. I kind of want to play Devil's Advocate again and put it in Rogue Tier, I'll be honest. Because I think it can be quite defensive, but also at the same time it lacks a bit of offensive power. Yeah, I'll put it in Jank Tier. Black War Greymon OTK. I mean, technically speaking, has gotten support with the new Metal Greymon stuff, with the stuff in BT2, like the Raised Greymon, the EX9 one. Technically the EX10 stuff, but not really, because it's not really that kind of build. I think I would personally put it into Rogue Tier myself, not into Tier 2. But the majority have definitely put it in Tier 2, but I'm gonna go Rogue Tier. Bloomlord, I think, is still a gatekeeper deck. I think I'm still going to put that into Tier 2, as have the majority. So I think we're going to do that. I do appear to just be voting mainly with the majority here. I do apologise. Blue Armour. The thing is, I agree with most of these takes. I agree probably Blue Armour is 1.5, not Tier 1. Like, you can kind of play around Magnamon X now, you know, and there are ways of dealing with it, you know, outside of just kind of unga-bungering it. So yeah, I'm going to say Tier 1.5. Blue Flare. Blue Flare, I think, could be potentially quite hard to deal with for a lot of the Rogue Tier decks. And things like that. But you know what? I'm gonna be spicy and I'm gonna put that to Rogue Tier. D Brigade can go mega wide. Has got some cool stuff like the Ace. Hasn't really gotten any new support. I think we'll still put it in Rogue Tier. Bunnies, right? This is an interesting one because I've left bunnies on here by accident. Because usually I take off the winning decks, and obviously this won Jank Tank 10. So it's kind of ironic that people have put this mainly into Tier 2, which is where I would normally place it, when actually it was legal for Jank Tank 10 because most people voted it into Rogue Tier. So that's quite interesting. I myself, I'm going to vote it into Tier 2 purely on the basis that that's where I believe it always should have been, but it is going to be in the Champions Tourney. Axel, as much as I would love to play this in Jank Tank, because I think I would wreck house with it because I love this deck, it's a Tier 2 one. It's too oppressive on the board. Cherubimon. This is an interesting one because technically speaking, you could say that this is banned because Bunnies is banned, but technically it uses a different engine. It uses the Lopmon stuff more predominantly rather than Rapidmons and Terriermons and things like that. I'm going to go with the majority here and put it in Rogue Tier. I think it can be really good. And I may even ask the guys if they would be okay with me playing this. Also, there's the last song I was playing on Spotify, apparently. There we go. Chessmon. Chessmon, I think, can be super defensive, can do some really cool stuff. Technically gets some support with the puppet stuff from EX9. But I don't think anyone's really experimented with it just yet. I think it could be good. But I'm going to put that in Jank Tier as well. D-Links. I know that this deck can do really well. It does struggle in a format where D-Digivolve is going to be the main format. I was having a chat in the Discord with Bonebuster, briefly. And he made a good point that D-Digivolve is quite rampant at the moment because of things like puppets, because of things like Diaboromon, so it does kind of hurt it. But at the same time, it's got some good anti-meta qualities to it. So I think I would still put it into tier 2. Not rogue tier, so I'm going to put it into tier 2. Dex Doru, I think, is tier 2, without shadow of a doubt. It did actually end up in rogue tier last time, but I'm going to put it in tier 2 myself. Dorbitmon, we have actually technically seen this deck get some results recently, but I think I'm going to put this into rogue tier as well. Deep Sabers currently is put into tier 2. I myself am actually going to put it into rogue tier, and my reasoning being is it's very impressive once it gets to its top end, but it's not the best at searching through its deck and cycling through things, so it can be quite slow. So I'm going to put it into rogue tier personally. Dynasmon, I like the idea of Dynasmon. I've always liked the idea of Dynasmon, but I feel like any deck that is going to harm itself to gain advantage always has a bit of a risk factor, and because of that, I'm going to put it in rogue tier. Emperor Hybrid. So most people put this into rogue tier. I mean, if it gets the ball rolling, it's pretty tight. I got to live on the edge of danger. ES1, easy Jank tier, easy. Fenrir, I'm going to put this into tier 2, and this actually ended up being Jank Legal last time. It was actually in Jank Tank 11. I'm going to put that in tier 2. Fortitude Tribal, so all of the Fortitude stuff, technically speaking, has gotten support in EX10 from stuff like the Belphamon, which does have Fortitude, I believe. So technically you could play that in the top end now. That's kind of spicy, I'm not going to lie. You can also play stuff like Dynamon in it. But I myself have never made this deck work. I would love it to work, but I've never made it work, so I'm still going to put it in Jank tier, even with all this being said. 4 Great Dragons, same thing. Technically, you could try and put a bunch of really strong 4 Great Dragon cards in this, but it really struggles to be built, so I'm going to put that in Jank tier. 4 Sovereigns, most people have put that into Rogue tier. I personally think it's quite a hard deck for most of the Rogue tier and Jank decks to deal with. I'm going to say it's had no results, though, since EX5, though. It's quite slow. Yeah, go on, I'll go to the majority of Rogue tier. Gabubond. Most people have put this into tier 2, which is interesting, instead of Vagabond. I kind of feel that Gabubond... I mean, you could say Gabubond is more efficient than Ogubond, but I feel like in an actual Gabubond list, Gabubond is worse off than it is in like a Garurumon list or a source stripping list. Because it bounces based on the amount of sources they've got. So it kind of needs more source stripping and bigger stacks that a Gabubond list doesn't necessarily afford. So I'm personally going to say Rogue tier on that one. Gallantmon, it won Dallas. Need I say more? Even after the ban list. I'm sorry, I am still team Groundmon X should have got hit. I've said it multiple times, and clearly it's the deck's still putting in the work. And something about that deck is still putting in the work. Maybe it's because its engine didn't really get hit. RIP Garudamon X, tier 1. Get out of here. Green Gacha. Now, this is a deck I'm tempted to build myself. Something that we need to think about for the next format of Jank Tank is new cards to kind of put on the ban list. There's been a couple that have been flitted about. Stuff like Omnimon X, Quartzmon Ace. And that's one of the cards I'd love to put into Green Gacha because Digimon can actually just play that from the deck, which is funny. And I do love Digimon. I think Digimon's one of my favourite decks because it is just so funny. My preferred build of it is Adventure, though, which I can't use because of the meta engine rule. So if it's relying more on its own pieces, I think it's absolutely Jank tier. And that's where I'm going to put it. Grey Knights, yeah, Jank tier, easy. Easiest decision of the day. Greymon Toolbox. I personally would put this into tier 2 because of the amount of Greymon stuff that's out, especially after EX10. because I could see stuff like the new Metal Greymon being good with just basically any of the more defensive Greymon cards, like your Black War Greymon Ace, like your War Greymon, your Black War Greymon X, Gaiomons, all of that stuff. So I'm gonna put that into tier 2. Heavy Metal. Heavy Metal is terrible. It's actually terrible. I beat it the other day with a deck that I had not even tested once, and it wasn't. It was a jank, what I would possibly call a jank legal deck, or what most people would call a jank legal deck. Heavy Metal Dramon is one of those decks that I think that the concept of the deck is so cool, and the Digimon is so cool. I mean, making references to heavy metal, my favorite kind of music, for example. Its main attack is called Black Sabbath, which is awesome. You know, and obviously it makes me think of Ozzy. You know, which I never actually talked about Ozzy on the channel, and I probably shouldn't, but like, oh, man, what a dude. You know, loved him. Anyways, unfortunately, this deck is janked in. Sorry about the tangent. Anyways, Ice Snow. Most people put this into jank tier. I mean, it's got Hexablow, and Hexablow is an amazing card. It's also got some interesting engine efficiencies. So you've got the Penguinmon making stuff cheaper. You've got Frigimon gaining a memory if you've got no sources. But things like that can be played around in the early game if you know what you're doing. I personally would not say jank tier. I'm going to say rogue tier and tie those up. So let's see where it ends up. Jellymon. Ironically, Sam just sold this deck. He literally just built it and has now sold it before even playing it in Jank Tank. With the right build, it can be really good. It actually does quite well with Gabumon, funnily enough. But I'm going to say Jank tier. Jessmon. So something I didn't put on here is obviously the Turtle Ganku deck, which technically speaking is already banned from Jank Tank because the Puppet Ganku list that Dan had won ages ago. But Jessmon, I think, is a deck where any of the rogue tier and jank tier stuff is going to really struggle against it. So I'm going to put tier 2. Jumbo Gamimon. I love Jumbo Gamimon. It's so much fun, but it's also kind of shit going into jank tier. Legend Arms. Most people have put this into tier 2. I personally am going to put it into rogue tier, and I'll tell you why. It's because it's got a lot of really powerful effects, but again, it's the consistency side of things that can kind of, you know, really bring it back. So for me, I'm going to put it into rogue tier, but most people have obviously put it into you know, tier 2. Leomon. Leomon used to be a bit of a gatekeeper, but it's kind of slow now. It could potentially be a good engine for Leopardmon, which would be interesting. But yeah, I'll agree with the majority of rogue tier. Leviamon. Leviamon is back with a vengeance. It's very good. It's very good in this format. It punishes a lot of the big decks. It's like, once again, the anti-meta deck. So let's put that into tier 1. Lilithmon X is next. So we've got tier 2 is the majority. I'm actually going to put it in rogue tier myself. I do like it into tier 2. Technically, it's got... Oh, no, saying that it's got support, actually, with Bagra, the new Bagra Lilith, which could help it. I don't know how much it helps it, but... yeah, go on, help in tier 2, or why not? I'd just give it to the peer pressure of the vote. I see a big bar and I go, I just want to vote on that too. Lord Knight Purple. Yeah, I agree. Tier 2 again. I mean, Lord Knight was the boogeyman of the format, you know, a long time ago, and it just fizzled. We were talking about it in the chat today. It fizzled like flat coke. It is kind of one of the biggest, most disappointing decks ever. I haven't even touched it in ages, and I've got the deck. But I will say tier 2. Magna Hybrid. I feel like if Emperor got voted down, this gets voted down into rogue tier as well. Mamimon, jank tier, absolutely, even with some of the new stuff. Marsmon, a previous Jank Tank champion. The first time I won a Jank Tank was with Marsmon. But, I mean, technically, I think we could cook with it. I'm tempted to try and cook with it for Jank Tank 12, because we can bring it back. But, yeah, Jank. Mastamon. Now, this did get new support. When did it get new support? Did it get new support? Has it got new support? It got the promo back in Beta 21. It's getting new support in Beta 23, and I think then it will be really good. I voted it into rogue tier last time, and then a guy said that actually it had some wins, including him winning with it. And I saw those wins, and it was like 5 of them in Beta 21. I don't know if it's gotten any more. but I'm kind of swayed because I think it can do a lot of things that the Rogue tier, Jank tier stuff is going to struggle with. So do you know what? I will actually put it in tier 2 this time. Melga, tier 2. This isn't even Gas. Gas I don't think is... did I make an image for Gas? I don't think I did. But in saying that, Gas, would be banned regardless of it. Even after the ban list, it's still quite good. Yeah, so that's tier 2. Mervaloop, I will break the tie and I'll be interesting. I'm going to go Rogue tier. That could be dangerous, but fuck it. My votes. Millennium Mon. I just put Mervaloop into Rogue tier. Can I honestly put this into tier 2? Yeah, screw it. I don't like going against Millennium Mon, but I'll put it in Rogue tier. Millif, that is technically got support, but I don't know why people put it into tier 2. I mean, the more classic Millif build, I think I would say Rogue tier. That's what I'm going to say. Because, yeah, I think, screw it, why not? Mirage, most people put it into tier 2. It was actually Rogue tier last time we did this vote. Tier 2, yeah, why not? I'll vote in the majority. Necromon is technically getting support in Beta 23, but obviously it's not here yet. Has a really cool mechanic. Necromon is a really cool Digimon. He looks like a Dark Souls boss. But unlike a Dark Souls boss, which will put you into the Shadow Realm all the time, Necromon does not do that all the time. So I'll say Rogue tier. Nightmare Soldiers technically is banned because it won the first Jank Tank of this year. I'll just put that in Rogue tier. Nature Spirits, I've put Deep Savers into Rogue tier. I've put Nightmare Soldiers into Rogue tier. I'll put this into Rogue tier as well. I may even play it. Who knows? Numemon. Even with the Numemon X down to 1, I feel like this is still a tier 2 pick. So yeah, I'll go for the majority on this one. Omnimon Ultra S. Now this is meant to be more of the EX4 build, but technically that did get support in EX9 and just generically, obviously, it got support in Beta 22. I am gonna go out on a limb and where do we put it? I mean, it can play the new one, obviously, and just play that Blitzcray engine at the top. Yeah, I'll put it tier 1.5. Screw it, I'll go the majority. Pulsemon. Oh, we came so close to winning Jank Tank 11 with this. We came so close. Damn you, Bricking and Vademon. Fuck you, Vademon. Rogue tier. Purple Hybrid. I still could do pretty well. Yeah, I'll just go majority again, 1.5. I'm sorry, this is kind of disappointing. I'm just kind of going with the majority. I don't have any spicy picks thus far, really. Ravemon. Yeah, Jank tier. That's shit. Reaper, also kind of bad. I will put that into Jank. Rosemon, most people put this into Rogue. It's kind of just the worst version of Bloomlord. Where is Bloomlord? Did I not vote on Bloomlord? I thought I'd voted on Bloomlord. Oh yeah, I did. There it is, 2-2. It's the worst version of Bloomlord. So, do you know what? I will agree with the majority and go Rogue tier. Royal Base has never worked. Jank. Royal Knights, still one of the best decks in the format. Tier 1. Royal Red, Purple Imperial 1. Now, actually, I think this is an interesting deck. I want to talk about it. I think it's got actually quite a good matchup against stuff in this format. It's got access to partition. It's got access to kind of soft protection, like we're going to DNA now because you tried to delete us type thing. But most importantly, once you get up to the top of the line, it stops things being played by effects. So that's quite good against things like Puppets, like Omnimon, Diaboromon, loads of stuff. So actually, I think this is a good anti-meta contender. Do I think that's good enough for it to make tier 1? No. So again, I'm going to go with the majority. Sakuyamon, even after the ban list, people are still making it work. Yeah, I agree, tier 1. Screw it. Seadramon, I know this card can do really well on the right pilot. Not necessarily saying you're the right pilot, Sam, before your ego gets too big. Tier. I'm sorry, I'm just going with the majority. Everyone makes sense. Stop making sense. People need to not make sense. That's not a request. Please don't just start making no sense on the vote. Setcon. Everyone hates Setcon. And there's some interesting ways you could play it now. There's some interesting new security Digimon here and there. I'm going to say Rogue tier though. Seekers is an interesting one. I think if I'm saying Fenrir is tier 2, I'm inclined to put this in tier 2 as well, despite the majority. So do you know what? I'm going to do that. And if it ends up being legal, oh well. Shakamon is going to be Jank tier. Unfortunately, it's just never really panned off in terms of how it really should. So yeah, we'll put that on Jank. Shakuramon. I love Shakuramon. It's my favourite engine for stuff like Jumbo Gamamon. I'm actually currently experimenting with a deck with Shakuramon in mind, potentially for Jank Tank 12. With that in mind, it's kind of a bit slow. It is going to get some support in B23, which will be cool. But yeah, it's Jank. Sylphimon. Most people put this into Jank. This is actually a really cool engine that can do some really kind of crazy things, actually. I'm personally going to put it into Rogue tier, but yeah, most people put it in Jank. That's interesting. Skull Hybrid. This is in here as obviously a general reference to Jank Tank 6. This deck was the reason we brought in the meta engine rule, because we didn't, or rather we brought it back because of this deck. Because we took it away for a bit because people were moaning and be like, I want my Ukomons, I want my this, I want my that. And I was just like, alright, fine. I'm going to take the rule away. So, I then decided to teach everyone a lesson and made this deck using the red hybrid engine. And it won. And then the meta engine suddenly came back again. The rule suddenly came back again. That being said, I haven't been able to make it work since. So I'm going to put it in Jank. Source Strip has some cool access to things outside of the Vikemon stuff, like Gababond and Hexablow and things like that. That being said, I agree with the Jank tier. Sukamon, this can do some cool stuff. It can go quite wide. I'm actually going to be inclined to go Jank tier though, because that's kind of all it does, and that's not good enough. Three Musketeers. People are putting this into Rogue tier, and that's kind of scary actually. Three Musketeers, really spooky when it's going, but I will agree with the majority, only for the fact that it can be bricky as fuck. Right. Titamon. I do like Titamon. Titamon is fun. Titamon does have some cool things going for it in terms of like OTK potential, but it's kind of bad at the same time. So, yeah, Jank tier. Trains. Oh no, I've got a bone to pick with this list in particular. Your secret is up. You have been ratted out. I finally know the one person, apparently it's two, but I know one of those people. You've been ratted out by your brother. Mimi, I know you're voting this deck into tier 1. Stop allowing your brother to tell you to vote tier 1 on this deck. Stop it. Just stop it. And slap your brother. Your brother's Charles, by the way, who's obviously one of the guys in the channel. Stop it, Mimi. Anyways. Right. Saying that, in terms of appearance, in terms of what the deck is in tier 1. But in terms of how it performs, yeah. Tyrant. So this is quite a big boy deck. Like it just has a lot of like big bugs, really hard to get over. I think because of that reason, it controls the board too much for the Rogue 2 and Jank stuff to deal with. So I'm still putting it in tier 2. Vortex Warriors. This obviously is a deck that really should have kind of built up more, and the adventure version of it is actually quite good. But I think in general, I would agree tier 2. Wargrey OTK, I would also agree tier 2 with the majority. Yellow Armor, I am actually going to vote this into tier 2 as well, because of the fact that it hasn't put any results in a long time. So I'm going to put it in tier 2. Yellow Hybrid, most people are putting this in Rogue tier. Technically play some of the Gabumon stuff. No, not Gabumon, the Ancient Gar stuff. Yeah, right. Yellow Lord Knight. I've always wanted to experiment with this deck, but never have. But I'll put it into Jank tier. Adventure. I wouldn't agree with putting this into tier 1. I think Adventure is an incredibly good engine, to be fair. One of the best engines in the game. But I would say in terms of how it's performing, in terms of wins and things like that, there's something about it which is kind of missing something against some of these tier 1 decks. It's really good against everything below tier 1, but against tier 1 specifically, it can struggle. So I will put it into tier 1.5. Appmon. All of the Appmon stuff can be pretty good, bar one of them, which we'll get into. It's not that bad, but we'll get into it. But the normal Appmon stuff, I would agree, tier 2. Examon. Most people put this into Rogue tier. I'm inclined to agree It's got some big boys. It's got some really cool stuff going on. But it's not really consistent enough even after the kind of new stuff we got Beta 21. Let's go root it. Galactic, I still think this is one of the better kind of black decks in the format. I don't know if I want to put it in tier 2 or tier 1.5. I'll agree with the majority. I'll go tier 1.5. Hero, I think this deck has been unlocked. Like when I started experimenting with this deck, I kind of couldn't make the Atmon stuff work in it for me. I didn't like making the Atmon stuff work. I just didn't like it. But people have managed to kind of figure that out, and it's very much part of that. The thing that I always say, which is I think outside of the box, and then there are people who think outside of the box that I think out of. And this is one of those decks, and it's just been climbing up the tier list votes. I don't know if I'd want to put it in tier 1.5 for me personally. I just think I'm still going to put it in tier 2, but it's interesting to see most people are putting it in tier 1.5. Justimon, technically banned because DM Justimon won the one Jank Tank 11. Which, speaking of, basically any DM deck we've banned now because they basically all use the same engine. However, I would still agree to put it into Road tier. So, Medusamon, let's get supported Beast 23. It's very one note. Most people have put it into tier 2. People will tell me, no doubt, that I'm going to make my decision based on the fact that I play this deck and that I would like to use its engine in the next Jank Tank potentially. I'm not going to confirm if they were right. I'm just going to accidentally click on Road tier. Megidramon. Yeah, it still does good, doesn't it? It still does pretty good. I don't know if I want to call it... I mean, I'm saying that actually, it did put in some results at Dallas. Yeah, go on, tier 1 still. Red Hybrid, most people put it into tier 2. Hasn't put results in a long time, to be fair. I think it's one of those decks that, with the right setup, it does incredibly well, but it's kind of too slow against all the tier 1 and tier 1.5 decks currently. So, I'm going to put it in tier 2 as well. Shine Grey. Same kind of thing. I mean, a lot of people, I think, still full-on go Copium, Shine Greymon is best Greymon deck. I don't even know if it is anymore now, but I would still probably call it in tier 2 along with most of the other Greymon decks. Crossheart has some interesting mechanics to it, but it's not interesting enough to make tier 1 or tier 1.5, obviously, but it's also too good, I think, for Road tier and Jank, so we'll put it in there. Abaddon, most people put this in tier 2. I would still say it's one of the better black decks. I'm inclined to agree, though, because it can be pretty slow. It can be very oppressive when it gets going. What do I do with Galacticmon? If I put Galacticmon in 1.5, I feel like I've got to put this in 1.5 as well, just on a similarity scale. Ariamon, or Arielmon. It doesn't have the L though. Ariamon. Most people put it in tier 2 and Road tier. I could currently make a decider on it currently. Obviously, 5 days left on the vote. It does go mega wide. It's got some interesting support in like kind of removal tools. I'm gonna still say Road tier. Screw it. Next up, Boltmon. I love this deck, and when I played it in Jank Tank 10, that's the best way I made it work. And I think it's still got potential, but against any decks with protection, it's going to really struggle. So I think I'm still going to put it in Jank tier. I may even play it in Jank Tank 12, because we might be doing that as a Halloween-themed event. We haven't decided. It's going to depend on what the votes are like. So we'll see. But, yeah. Jank tier. CS. Yeah, I think the support in Beats 23 is going to really make or break this deck. Right now, it's very glass cannon. If it sets up quickly enough, it will steamroll basically anything. But if it gets stopped in its tracks at any point, it gets very stalled. So I think I'm going to agree with the majority and go tier 2. Diaboromon. Most people have put this into tier 2. I am of the opinion that this, along with Galactic, Abaddon, and one other deck, is one of the better black decks right now. I'm gonna put them in 1.5. I think I might. I'm gonna put this in 1.5 as well. Screw it. DM Chimera, even with the, it's got the DM engine. Yeah, I'll put it in Road tier. I'll put it in Road tier, but it's basically, it is technically banned from Jank Tank. DM Machine Dramon. This has been putting in the work. I'm gonna go majority tier 1.5. Screw it. Show me that you hate Omnimon Ultra S without telling me that you hate Omnimon Ultra S. Yeah, go on then. Screw it. Why not? Eaters is getting support in Beta 23. Most people put it in Rogue tier. I think it's going to be really hard for these decks to deal with. Wow. And especially with the support in Beta 23, it'll be bonkers if it wins and goes to the Champions Tourney. Tier 2, my gut's saying tier 2. Gaiamon, this did get some support in EX10. This has gotten some really good support. I mean, with the EX10 Metal Greymon, now we can get a double trash with the promo one. We can get a trash with our BT15, with our BT21 Gaiamon. So 2 Gaiamon, sorry, I'm getting it all wrong. Yeah, I would agree and say tier 2, I think. Galaxy is still putting in wins. I'm going to agree with tier 1. It's still doing really good. Kentorusmon is one of my favourite yellow decks because it's just so wacky. It kind of feels like a Dynasmon deck that has less aggression but kind of more recovery, if that makes sense. So with that in mind, I'll put it in the same tier. Why not? Leopardmon. I do kind of want to experiment with Leopardmon. My favourite build of it uses Adventure, which I wouldn't be able to use in Jank Tank, but it can do some other cool stuff. So, yeah, written. Lord Knight Black Base. Oh, another tiebreak. Let's go. If Purple Base is still in tier 2, this deck did get support technically because the EX10 stuff is black purple, and you could use it in the black base as well as the purple base. So technically, it did get support. I can't remember how good that support is though. My gut's telling me tier 2. Feel free to let me know if I'm wrong. This obviously is mainly going to be an opinion-based kind of tier list because we haven't seen that many results. Those decks we have seen results of, Puppet, tier 1, best yellow deck in the format. Tyrannomon, so the Dinomon stuff. Most people put it to Rogue tier. I think that's nuts. That's nuts. I love this deck, and oh my god, if it does end up in Rogue tier, I will play it. I will play it in Jank Tank 12, absolutely. But my gut tells me that a lot of these decks are going to struggle like hell against Tyrannomon. Like, I know how good that deck can be. So I'm going to say tier 2. If it ends up legal, it ends up legal. Ulforce, a lot of people try to make this deck work. It doesn't always quite cut the mustard. But I'll say tier 2. Wind Guardians, I've put all the others in Rogue tier. Most people put this into Jank tier. I'll complete the set. I'll put it in Rogue tier as well. I'll be nice. Why not? Gear Birds. Now, as I said earlier, Birds I actually put into, and these are hilariously out of order, despite the fact I always put them into order during the template. I need to see what's going on there. Maybe I'm not saving it or something. But I think I've obviously put Birds into Rogue tier because I think it's been hurt that much by Greedamon X. This is still putting in results though. There are still places that are getting results with this. So I'm going to still put this into tier 1.5. The engine still helps it out massively. The Gearmon Machine 1, I wouldn't put it in tier 1. Most people put it in tier 2. I'm still going to put it in tier 1.5. Omnimon CS base, tier 1. Get out of here. Omnimon red base. Most people put it in tier 1.5. We have seen people winning with this build though. Yeah, I'm going to put it in tier 1 as well. Screw it. Uranusmon. So this is the Atmon deck that I don't think is as good as the Gaiamon and Deusmon lists. So I'm going to personally put this in Rogue tier. It's got some of the most utility, but utility doesn't always mean... Sometimes utility is actually kind of a bad thing. So we're going to put Rogue tier in. Bagra. Most people put it in Rogue tier so far. It's kind of a big split between tier 2, Rogue tier, and Jank tier. People really struggle to make Bagra army work, and this is with the EX10 support, of course. Oh, my gut's kind of saying Jank tier, I'm not going to lie. Even after EX10. Because it's very level 6 heavy as well. Like, you've got to put a lot of work in for your cross mechanics. Yeah, screw it. I might get some hate. No, but then again, with the right pilot, it's really good. I'm not going to say tier 2. I'm going to say Rogue tier. Screw it. I'm going with the majority. Beelzemon, after the new support, I'm kind of surprised it's not gone any higher than tier 2. Obviously, it's got the ace, it's got like all this sort of stuff. I am actually going to put tier 1.5 on that one. Belphamon, even with the new support, it's going to get even more support in Beta 23. I will agree with the majority of tier 2. Blackwall Greymon, I really like the way that this deck plays. I don't know if I'd want to put it into tier 1.5 or tier 2. Majority put it in tier 2. I actually am going to put it on a bit of a pedestal compared to the other Greymon lists. I think the Blackwall Greymon stuff now is like some of the best we've got with the Ace and with stuff like that. Granted, I possibly should have bumped Gaiamon up as well, but this specifically has quite a good matchup against some of the tier 1 decks, like Omnimon, for example. It helps to clear Nokia. It instantly gains immunity when Omnimon appears in the field. So, for that being said, and the fact that I kind of put this among a pedestal among the Greymon stuff at the moment, and I kind of count it along the lines of these black decks that I've put into tier 1.5, I'm going to put it in tier 1.5 personally. Creepymon. So this is kind of another milling strategy. The Creepymon itself does add some board clearance and a little bit of like aggro. I don't think I'd want to call it Jank tier, but I also don't think I want to call it tier 2. So I'm going to personally put it in rogue tier. Dark Masters. I think this deck's going to surprise people a bit. It's got a very interesting playstyle with the face-up security thing, and I think it struggles on that basis against some of these tier 1 decks and tier 1.5 decks. But against some of the stuff below, it's got a lot of big bodies in it that they struggle with. So do you know what? I will actually agree with the majority and go tier 2. It may very well end up lower though. Deusmon, I also agree with the majority of tier 2. I think it's a deck with a lot of tricks, a lot of cool things going for it. Me and Charles tested it on the day of release actually, and it's got a lot of really cool kind of just like the fact that it does these trash recursions and things like that, which is really cool. So I think tier 2 personally. I think it's kind of on a similar power level to the Gaiamon list. Gammamon. Now this was in the last couple of Jank Tanks, but with the new support, I'm going to put it into tier 2 with the majority because we've got Rush, we've got end of turn stuff with it now. So yeah, we'll put it up there. Hunters, I think that's still tier 2 as well. It's got some great cards like the BT21. The Quartz One Ace is pictured here, but I honestly don't know if people are actually running it. So I'm going to put it in tier 2. Lucemon, this deck is obnoxious. I've always said this deck is obnoxious. Now it's even more obnoxious because it has a Lucemon that says, haha, you tried to delete me, either delete yourself or I don't die. Which is so obnoxious. I hate it. You kind of have to have D-Digivolve against it, otherwise you can't do anything. With that being said, it really does not like being D-Digivolved. And with that being prevalent in the meta, I feel like it's not going to go any higher than tier 2. Myotismon, it's got a loop. It's got a loop. It's not that good of a loop. I mean, saying that, has the loop gotten many results? I think at the moment I'm inclined to say tier 2, but I could see with the right pilots it going higher, like maybe 1.5. Tier 2, Rocks. So most people say tier 1.5 for tier 2. I mean, this is an OTK machine. It was before and now even more so. I feel like I put all these other black decks in 1.5. I feel like I'm going to do the same with this. Why not? And that loops us round to the beginning. So that is my votes done. This is what my tier list is looking like. Let's take a quick look at how the most votes one is looking. So yeah, so a little bit of changes there. Jank tier down 22%, Rogue tier at 25%. Tier 2 is the biggest at the moment at 36%. So it'll be interesting to see if any of those go down at all. Tier 1.5 is looking at 10%. And then tier 1 up here. So our tier 1 decks currently are Gallamon, Blue-Green Imperiodron, Royal Knights, DM version 1-2, Galaxy, Leviamon, Megidron, Puppets, Sakuyamon, and Omnimon CS. Those are currently our tier 1 decks. If you do want to vote, do head down to the pinned comments below and you can find the link down there to go and access this tier maker. Like I said at the beginning of the video, do make sure you're logged in to the tier maker website. Otherwise, your votes will not count. So there is that. Obviously, if you don't want to log in and you just want to do it for a bit of fun, please just do that. I completely get it. We don't always want to be just logging into every website here and there. So, just have fun with it. Do vote with it. It'd be really cool to see how many people we get voting. Last time we had almost 300 people voting, which was crazy. Would be great to see that number go up. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this tier list. Obviously, I'm sorry that it's kind of not in a meta that is more defined right now. But with the amount of Jank Tank tournaments we're looking to churn out, we've kind of got to ramp up the tier lists as well. So it'll be interesting to see if by the end of the format, this tier list after this week is going to be kind of the same. So we'll see. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling at this point. Like, subscribe, ding that notification bell, as cringe as that may be, and we will see you again on the next video, whatever that may be. We'll figure that out. But until next time, keep it digital.